And we're back. All right, guys. So when I was preparing for this video, I realized something. We're like 7, 8 episode deep, something like that. And I haven't even touched on what information technology, IT, or tech is and why this is important, why it's blowing up, and why it's, as far as I'm concerned, here to stay. I don't think we're going to get rid of this stuff at all at this point. So for today's video, I wanted to go ahead and define what is IT, why, like where did it come from, where did the name come from, what does it mean, and basically some of the key details that are centered around this giant just universe of an industry. So we're going to take a couple steps back. Before we even define what IT is, we need to define what information is. But even before we define what information is, we need to figure out what data is, because even before information, everything you do, whether again you're in cybersecurity, you're in IT service management, when you're just making business decisions, you're doing data analysis, stuff like that, it all revolves around data. When you're moving, text messages, emails, and things from one place to another, you need to protect data, hence cybersecurity and things like that, right? So we need to figure out what data is. Let's touch on that first. Okay, so we're going to link this to my old video, which went over databases, which if you haven't seen that video yet, I recommend you watch that here. Let's say you have a clothing store, online clothing store, you got shirts, jeans, for the ladies, maybe you do swimsuits, things like that. Pick your poison. Now let's say you record all of your transactions in a database for your website where people place their orders. So when you look into the database, or if you have it spit out some type of, let's say, Excel report or something like that, which is normally what's done, you're going to have a list of all the different transactions. You're going to say this person bought a bracelet, this person bought an anklet, this person bought a necklace, this person bought a shirt, this person bought jeans, so on and so on, right? The only thing is that list doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't give you any depth or insight. It's kind of just, this person bought this time of day, and this many units of the product, how many pairs of jeans did they buy, what color maybe, stuff like that. But one by one, it doesn't tell you anything. This is why data analysts are pretty important, because they're supposed to take that raw information that doesn't necessarily mean anything and turn it into something that more so higher management, C-suite level people can look at and make business decisions on when it comes to, hey, let's go ahead and get rid of this part of the clothing line, this product is not really selling like that, versus let's go ahead and keep this one. In fact, let's produce more of it because it seems to be trending upwards, right? So data, it's raw, it's scattered, it's unrefined, it doesn't tell you anything, right? The point of information technology is to, well, a part of it is to take that raw data and turn it into information. Hence, like I just said, data analysts. So if data is kind of just raw and unrefined, then what's information? Information would be taking that same sales data of the different clothes that were bought from your website and saying, okay, how many jeans did I sell like in the last month? Out of those pairs of jeans, what color were they? The different colors, and how many units of each color did it sell? Same thing for, again, accessories, shirts, jackets, whatever it is you sell, shoes, you can break it down like that by color, by size. If you're one of those reseller type of companies, like you just house a bunch of different high-end brands, you got your own brick and mortar stores, things like that. You're like, what brand sold the most this month, the last 2 weeks, the quarter overall, things like that. And that's where you get people that have to make bar graphs, pie charts, line graphs, stacked column graphs, all these things. That's where you get people that do all of that, because now you have a better idea of what's popular. Same thing with music. A lot of people, myself, like, listen to a lot of rap. Always have, always will be. I've always loved rap. Not quite where it is now, but I've always loved rap. I think I always will. The thing with rap and the common complaint is people are saying it's boring. It's not really creative. Everyone sounds the same for the most part. A lot of the soul say instrumentals sound the same. They're not really creative either. Just real bass heavy, 808, whatever, same old thing, crazy hi-hats, all that stuff. But here's the thing. If people such as myself are picking that type of stuff up and listening to what we call mumble rappers, SoundCloud rappers that don't really talk about anything, or they talk about things that aren't really good, but try to put a good light on it and things like that, you know what I'm saying? Just make your complaint, pick your poison. Well, then if enough people are listening to that, when the record labels see like, oh my goodness, we broke sales records with this when this person's album dropped and it sounded like this. Oh man, this other rapper did the same thing and they sound like this. This other guy did something a little bit different, but it still had the same core elements. and still broke records or sold really well. If that trend continues for a long enough period of time, people are going to say, okay, this is working. Let's keep it going. Let's invest in it more. Why stop it? It's making us money. It's making us rich at that. Why stop it? That's information. Information is when you take that raw data, you clean it up, you make a bunch of different visual scorecards, dashboards, all that different fancy stuff. But the point being, you make it so that you can see where things are going. You can see what's drawing people's attention. You can see what they prefer. And when you have an idea of what people prefer, you can make a decision to be like, we don't need this, but let's kick this one up a notch. Okay, so now that we know what data is versus information, data, unrefined, kind of just all over the place, can't really do anything with it, versus information, refined, cleaned up, used to make business decisions, especially when it comes to things revolving, say, sales, what to invest in, what not to invest in, what to keep, what to get rid of. So now we can get to the core of the video, which is what is information technology? Where do you even get its name from? What does that mean? Well, first off, while information technology, in a sense, has been around for a very long time, the name wasn't officially coined until 1958 by the Harvard Business Review. They coined the term in one of their articles at the time. I couldn't find the name of the actual article, but it's a 1958 article, and it was the first time they defined the term information technology and the different components that make up this just gigantic industry that's now a gigantic industry. They came up with the name based on three categories. One, techniques that involve processing information, which we just discussed. Two, using stats and mathematical techniques to make key business decisions. Again, we've already discussed this with information. Now, this one we haven't touched, and we're pretty much in the era where this is like really kicking up with artificial intelligence and machine learning and things like that, to simulate the activity of the brain by using mathematical functions or methods. Now, we already know that tech is ginormous. There are so many different sides to it. Everyone's waking up to it. Everyone's finding out, oh man, I could have always went after this. I probably could have always been a software engineer, or I always could have been a cloud architect of some kind. Well, back, we didn't know that was a thing, but an architect of some kind outside of building houses. I could have always been on the business side of IT. I could have always been in service delivery, asset management, whatever the case was. We didn't know these things existed, right? My point being that IT isn't monolithic. It's not going to look the same. It's just like anything else. It doesn't look the same, everywhere you go, but especially not IT. It's way too big. But there are a few different categories that it really particularly pertains to. I'll just name a few. One, like I said, computer systems. This is pretty simple. Again, we use phones, smartwatches, laptops, like literal computers, gaming PCs, and the old school tower PCs. Those are all computing systems. Software. This is also pretty easy since we all use apps nonstop nowadays, social media apps, math apps and gaming apps, things like that. That's software. You touch the hardware, but the software is what you interact with on your phone. And programming languages. This is like Python, Java, JavaScript, Go. I think Bash counts, even though it's used more, it's kind of similar to Linux in a way, but I think it's also its own programming language in a way. Yeah, that's its own thing for like file directories and whatnot, but you get the gist. But those are some of the main things that people pay attention to when it comes to tech, because that's mainly the image that's been fed to us. So why did I decide to make this distinction? Why did I want to make sure this picture was clear? Because everything, again, when it comes to tech, revolves around data. If there's no data, there's no information. If there's no information, then we don't need to develop technology pertaining to the processing and, using mathematical functions to make decisions based off of said information. If we kind of just were back out in the wilderness somewhere and we noticed it would rain every so often, but we never paid attention it would rain on the same day or at a certain frequency. If someone didn't wake up and be like, hey, do you notice that it rains like every 2 days for whatever reason? Why do you think that happens? You know what I'm saying? That level of curiosity is what gets people to go out and say, I'm going to look into this and gather data. And when they gather that data and, try to paint a picture with it, that's what leads to information. From information, they can think of different things. Hey, it would be good if, every single Tuesday or every 2 days, put out a big bucket, gather some rainwater. We can use it as our own water instead of having to buy some, save money that way. Things like that. That's what leads to modern day business decisions, but obviously to a much grander scale. All right, guys. I actually ran out of storage at this point, so unfortunately I didn't get to wrap the video up properly, but we're just gonna go ahead and end it off here, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, I appreciate you for being here with me again. Go ahead and throw me some feedback and comments in the comment section below. And yeah, look forward to seeing y'all next time. Later.